people please clear the chamber as soon as possible? Order! Could you please clear the chamber as soon as possible?
No,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
When he gets through, just let Matthew sit, otherwise she's standing in your eye line. Yep, okay.
Order, order. I will call Gareth Snell to move the motion and will then call the Minister to respond. There will not be an opportunity for the member in charge to wind up, as is the convention, for 30-minute debates.
Thank you very much, Mr Turner, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship for this debate, and it's a pleasure to see Mr Dowd next to you offering a skilled hand at this time. Mr Turner, this year is the centenary year of Stoke-on-Trent, founded as a city in 1925 following the Federation of the Six Towns in 1910. It is a city of partnerships, I believe based on equals, in which 6 towns, of which I have the pleasure of representing 3.5, I share one of them with the Honourable Lady from Stoke-on-Trent South. But it is a city which, as we look forward to the next 100 years, has to consider what the future of our town centres are, what we hope to achieve in them, and what role they can play in delivering the government's ambitious programme of growth, housing and economic regeneration. Mr Turner, the last 14 years for my city has been tough. In cash terms, had the last government simply kept our revenue grant at its level in 2010-2011, there would have been over 400 million extra pounds available in the last 14 years to spend. As it happens, they didn't. And year-on-year cuts by the last government have left the city in a perilous state financially. It has led to an undignified situation where Stoke-on-Trent is forced to bid against our neighbouring cities simply to have a share of a prosperous fund, a levelling up fund, or any other fund indeed that we wish to bid for, in an undignified beauty parade that fails to recognise that every town centre, every city centre in this country deserves to be thriving and available, because town centres are more than places for shopping. The town centres that I represent in Fenton, Hanley, Stoke and a part of Longton are about pride, they're about community, they're about dignity of place, and they will be, I will in one moment, and they serve not just an economic benefit, but they are the mesh for which our society in the city is held together. And I'll give way.
Thank you to my honourable friend for giving way. Will the honourable member join me in commending the fantastic work that has been done by the Longton Exchange team and Urban Wilderness in their commitment to regenerating Longton Town Centre? But will he also agree with me that much more work and investment needs to be done to return Longton to its full glory?
The Honourable Lady has basically stolen one part of my speech, because yes, I was going to congratulate Longton Exchange on the mini renaissance that's taking place in that town, and in particular the work they do around the Longton Carnival and the Pig Walk, which unfortunately, although I wasn't able to make it this year, I very much intend to be there in April when they do this year's, because it is those sort of small cultural events and this small but determined work of dogged individuals that have a love for where they live and a pride in the place they call home that is going to deliver the upturn and the improvements to our town centres. But today I want to focus on... yes, I will.
Can I commend the Honourable Gentleman for bringing this forward? And there wouldn't be a town centre in this great United Kingdom that doesn't suffer from the issue. But one of the issues, the big problems, is the online shopping that happens, and that takes away trade from the town centre. Does the Honourable Gentleman agree with me that perhaps maybe one of the things that could be done, and we look to the Minister of this, is help to micro and small businesses, the start-up funds in the city centres, which brings people in, brings employment in, and helps the economy?
The Honourable Gentleman from Strangford, as always in this place, is absolutely right, and he's hit the nail on the head. And whether it's Strangford or Stoke-on-Trent, those town centres and those small and medium-sized enterprises, whether they be a service, whether they be a community organisation, whether they be retail, are actually the shops sometimes that people have most affinity to, because they have a personal relationship with the owner. And one of the things that we find in Stoke-on-Trent is those micro businesses that can be done from someone's garage, their back bedroom, thrive. The big stores tend to be able to weather the economic climate that we find ourselves in, but it's those mid-sized shops that actually, where the high street is probably just outside of their financial reach because of business rates, because the footfall isn't there, and because of the way in which the High Street is struggling because of, I would argue, decisions of the last government, but certainly things that, regardless of fault, need to be addressed by this government, and I have absolute confidence that the Minister and his team at the department are going to do that. But I want to just talk about quickly, because I want to focus most of my time this morning on the of Hanley, the city centre. I do want to pay tribute, as my honourable friend from Stoke South and the villages has already done, the amazing work that's happening in Longton. I won't repeat that because she has already adequately and wonderfully put that on record. But I do want to just briefly talk about Fenton and Stoke. Fenton was a town that Arnold Bennett, he didn't really forget. He took it out of the book because he didn't like his mother-in-law, but that's an entirely different debate. The work that's being done around Fenton Town Hall and with Ben Hudson and some of the community interest company that he's working with, and Stoke, who are running the town hall, and some of the Step Up Stoke charities, to turn that into a vibrant community hub is fabulous. The cafe in there is somewhere where I actually hold my surgeries, and it's where I will spend a lot of time when I have time off to go and enjoy the city in which I live and call home. The events they run there draw people in from all over the West Midlands, and they've demonstrated that actually with determination, gumped, and a little bit of community spirit, you can achieve something wonderful. And I think there is a model there that they have managed to put together that could be used in other parts of Stoke-on-Trent. I also want to pay tribute to the work that's being done by Jeff Nash and his team at the Spode site in Stoke, a Createch hub that is emerging there with support from Levelling Up funds, and in credit to the last government, they put some money in, and from the City Council. But what that is doing is demonstrating that the heritage buildings in my constituency, which are sometimes considered to be part of our past, can quite actually be part of our future. And what that demonstrates is that with a bit of imagination and a bit of support that I know the government is committed to doing, we can deliver real regeneration, new homes, good quality jobs, and demonstrate the new future for the city that I think is there. I'm just going to make a little bit, go on to Hanley. And then we come to, however, what I would argue is possibly the most challenging town centre of the 6 towns that make up Stoke-on-Trent, and that is Hanley. And the Minister is aware of this because he very kindly met with me, Councillor Jane Ashworth, the leader of Stoke-on-Trent Council, John Rouse, and the Chief Executive, and Rachel Laver, who is the wonderful Chief Executive of the Chamber of Commerce, because for many years, Hanley has been a challenge. It has been seen as being, if we fix Hanley, we fix everything else. And I think there is some argument that is correct. But the solutions have always completely dwarfed the scale of the challenge. Mr. Turner, like Hull, Stoke-on-Trent deserved more from the last government. We were given Levelling Up funds. The last Conservative Council decided the best possible thing they could do with the support that was offered to them was to build a car park. Now, you tell an economically deprived city with working age people who are in work poverty that the way we're going to level up their lives is by building a multi-storey, colourful car park on the edge of the city centre, and that's your lot. That car park, ironically, is now costing the council money because it was so poorly planned, so poorly executed, that the revenue it should have generated simply isn't there. And it's now a loss for the council, which I think is a demonstration of the legacy of the last government. But on top of that, the council made these great, grand, aspirational plans, the last Conservative council, for arenas, for shopping centres. And on paper, they looked wonderful. The artist's impression you would want in every town centre. But there was no plan, there was no money, and there was no intention. And I think that is something they learnt from the last Conservative government when it comes to economic regeneration across this country. And so we now look, as a city, to the government not to solve our problems for them. I want to be clear to the Minister, I'm not coming here today with a begging bowl to ask for handouts, because I firmly believe the future of our city has to be driven by our city. But for them to join us in a new partnership, in putting the governmental shoulder behind our municipal wheel, because I think if we are able to forge a new partnership for the city centre, then we will be able to not only meet the housing demand that we need in the city, and I think we can more than meet the demands that are placed upon us by this government, and then some, if we had the land consolidation powers that the Homes England execute, if we were able to look at a self-replenishing fund to do some of the pump priming work, and also look at some of the remediation of the brownfield sites that we have sat around us. Because we do have the building blocks in the city centre. The work that's done by Richard Buxton and Jonathan Bellamy, and again Rachel Laver through the city centre bid, is phenomenal. they almost certainly always have a bright idea about something that we can be doing in Stoke-on-Trent to bring people into the city, the food, whether it's the food markets, whether it's the work they've done to essentially supplement the municipal support they should have had from a council that has had its budget cut. So that's the wardens, the street cleanings, the street scene work. We've got a really good set of policing led by Sergeant Chris Gifford, who do their absolute best to make sure that the city centre feels safe. But that again is also a challenge because of the reduction in drug and alcohol support services that the last government thrust upon us, meaning that people who need help can't get help, so they gravitate to our town centre, which causes a social problem. Very briefly, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you. My honourable, thank you for the debate. It's a really important debate, and my honourable friend notes that crime and antisocial behaviour is an issue in our towns, and it can put people off coming into our town centres. So it was welcome news. I hear the point about how we use levelling up funds or certain types of funds to make our town centres better, but the key to that is how we engage with local community leaders, retailers, to make sure we get the plans right. So obviously we did get the 20 million, including 6.5 million to make improvements to Burslem, Tunstall and Middleport. And we're also looking at how we design our crime. So would just briefly, would you... Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I take the point the honourable gentleman's making, but in a half-hour debate, I don't have time to address all of his points. But he's right. The reduction in the town centre, reduction in crime in the town centre helps people feel safe. It therefore brings more people into the town centre, which means they spend money in the town centre. And there is a virtuous circle of activity that isn't just about getting more shops on the high street, but making people that come into the high streets feel safer being there. And that also links to public transport. And I know that one of the conversations that's being pursued locally through the Bus Improvement Partnership and through the work that we hope might come from future reorganisation and devolution is that we can massively improve our public transport network so we can get the people into the town centres that want to shop there. Because at the moment, we have this perverse situation that the bus station is far away from the shopping centre. So so walking down the hill to get there is fine, but walking back up the hill is far too much for some, particularly the older members of my community who simply can't make the journey, so they don't go there. And it's those small things that we can do that will massively impact on economic benefits. But what I wanted to particularly pitch to the Minister today is, and he knows that this is something that we have an aspiration for, that the challenge we now face in Stoke-on-Trent is such that we can't do it alone. We're not asking for it to be done for us, but we can't do it alone. So we'd like to explore with the government and some form of urban development company, some sort of delivery vehicle that allows the master plan that's currently being put together by the City Council and the Chamber of Commerce to actually have cross-governmental support and demonstrate to businesses in my city that we are taking this seriously. Because the other problem we have, and again, Mr Turner, you will probably have experienced the same thing in Hull, which is plan after plan after plan is written, it is presented, it goes on a shelf, and then you never see it again. And so people's confidence that we can deliver the things we are promising has been dented. So by demonstrating that this partnership could exist between government, locally and nationally, I think that would go a long way to getting the business buy-in, which is crucial to the regeneration of our city centre and our high streets. I also want to pitch to the Minister the fact that there are certain powers that would come with that. So we do have brownfield sites across the city in our 3 constituencies that are ripe for development. But they're owned by people who have no interest in my city. They are often passed through different shell companies and corporations because they are an asset that is traded as opposed to being considered an asset that is of value to the city. Being able to access some of the compulsory purchase arrangements that Homes England have to do land consolidation so we can parcel up those bigger sites for development would allow us to do city centre living, which I know there is a demand for in the city because the Clayworks development in the middle of Hanley has been so successful. It's had a 98% occupancy rate from its first day of opening. Completely unprecedented in the city, but it's high quality, affordable housing for young and aspiring professionals in a trendy setting. More of that in our city centre would simply bring people that have a disposable pound in their pocket to come and live and shop and work there. We also have 2 fabulous universities who I know are clearly desperate to take some of the work that they're doing to attract people to North Staffordshire to give them a nighttime economy offer. And again, some of the work that I know the Minister is aware of that we wish to do in the city centre links to not only that daytime retail offer, but how do we then turn our city centres into a nighttime economy that people want to come and visit? So support for our restaurants, for our bars, for our wonderful theatres that we have across the conurbation, and also linking to the policing work to make sure that people feel safe at night. And I really do welcome the work that the government's already laid out, the additional community policing that we will have in the town centres that will absolutely reduce some of the latent antisocial behaviour and crime that is a deterrent. The work that we are doing on devolving bus power so that we can have an integrated transport network to get people to where they need to be. The fact that this government recognises that high street theft from shops, shoplifting, is a real problem, and that we are going to take it seriously, remove that arbitrary cap of £200, so that if you commit a crime in the city centre, we are going to come for you. But also the investment in drug and alcohol services, so that those people who are in our town centres desperately seeking support from the very generous people of my city can get that support in a much more structured and maintained way. And then also making sure that the really ambitious targets for housing that we have happens in our town centres, so that we can bring people back to our town centres, we can invigorate them and bring them back to life, and we can demonstrate, as we look towards the next 100 years of Stoke-on-Trent in this our centenary year, that we have a bright and prosperous future, one that is driven by a partnership between the City of Stoke-on-Trent City Council and this Labour government. Thank you.
Thank you. The question is that this House has considered government support to town centres in Stoke-on-Trent. Minister Matthew Pennycook.
Thank you, Mr Turner. It's an absolute pleasure to see you in the chair and also to see the reassuring presence of my honourable friend Mr Dowd at your side, stewarding the debate along. I'd like to start by thanking my honourable friend, the member for Stoke-on-Trent Central, for securing this important debate today. And it is a very important debate in Stoke-on-Trent's centenary year. Mr Turner, my honourable friend, is a doughty champion for his constituency. And while I know the city, he's absolutely right, has experienced hard times over recent years, his constituents should know that from the outset of this government coming to office, he's been pressing me on what more this Labour government can do, in partnership with local leaders and my honourable friends, to ensure that we maximise the opportunities that are there in the city as we go forward. And I share the honourable member's passion to support the regeneration of the town centres of Stoke-on-Trent and to create better places to live, work and play across the city. My honourable friend referenced the meeting we had just a few weeks ago alongside members of the council to discuss their plans for a comprehensive regeneration of Stoke-on-Trent city centre. And it was clear to me, Mr Turner, from that meeting that they are keen to ensure the city plays a full role in delivering on the government's growth strategy, including delivering on a substantial number of new homes as part of our Plan for Change milestone to build 1.5 million new homes in this Parliament. Mr Turner, Stoke-on-Trent City Centre is facing the same problems as many town centres across the country. Lower occupancy rates and footfall due to consumer habits changing, which makes a retail and office-led city centre strategy difficult for the future. And what I've been pleased to see in the case of Stoke-on-Trent, and I must say other cities across the country where Labour members and Labour local leaders are in place, is that the council, the new Labour-run City Council in Stoke-on-Trent, under the leadership of Councillor Jane Ashworth, has brought forward a committed and energetic programme and a serious plan for Hanley to take things forward that will see a radical shift to a residential-led model, aiming to create a revitalised city centre that can play a strengthened socio-economic role and unlock the development of thousands of new homes in the process that we've discussed. Mr Turner, it has been good to see that so much of the regeneration in Stoke-on-Trent is already well underway. My honourable friend has referenced a number of the very positive changes that are taking place, including the Smithfield Quarter, a fantastic mixed-use development that pays homage to the original Smithfield bottle works on the site, an excellent example of intertwining cultural heritage while also looking to the future needs of the city. The government has supported this vital regeneration work through Homes England, who've been working successfully with the council for many years. In 2022, a partnership agreement was signed with the council to accelerate the delivery of high-quality placemaking, housing-led and mixed-use developments in the city. The partnership aims to unlock, as my honourable friend is aware, 4,000 homes across a range of sites within the city and has to date supported 607 homes across several sites. The city has also been in receipt of considerable capital investment from Homes England over recent years, including £22 million of affordable housing programme investment and £10 million of housing infrastructure grant investment to unlock a combined 1,500 homes. Through this partnership, significant strides have been made to progress 13 priority sites in the council's pipeline and support the council's local plan review. Homes England has also provided around £800,000 in revenue funding to support the delivery of priority sites. Some of the key interventions that have taken place include, as my honourable friend will be aware, Homes England acting in collaboration with the City Council, procuring and jointly leading the production of a city centre master plan, providing a connected vision for the two towns of Stoke and Hanley, and a serious delivery plan. And I think this is the point. We've got a serious delivery plan emerging now, with clear evidence steps for the development of this key strategic corridor. We've also seen progress on several flagship sites across the city, providing a catalyst for the regeneration that needs to happen, that I know my honourable friend is working hard to see delivered. Etruscan Square, for example, is a major city centre development to regenerate the former bus station site in Hanley, which has secured outline planning permission for a 300-home mixed-use development, following on from receiving £20 million of government funding back in 2021. The North Shelton Opportunity Area, again, is a collection of 3 brownfield sites, and through our Brownfield Land Release Fund, the council has been rewarded money to remediate this site and make way for up to 50 homes. The point I would make, and I'm reiterating the point that my honourable friend has made, is that we need to see this partnership working continue. I would urge local leaders to continue to press forward with this ambition across the whole city. And I've impressed upon Homes England the need to continue supporting Stoke-on-Trent with the necessary skills, powers and investment needed to bring forward development, including known complex brownfield sites in Hanley Town Centre at the nearest possible opportunity. And as my honourable friend knows, I'm committed to working with him and my other honourable friends to ensure that we are utilising all of the powers that are already available or that the government intend to bring forward to ensure that we can realise the full potential of the city, including powers in relation to compulsory purchase orders, as he referenced. Mr Turner, despite the previous administration making a number of unfunded commitments to local authorities and mayoral combined authorities, at October's budget, this government confirmed that the majority of local growth projects have been protected and that the UK Shared Prosperity Fund has been extended for another year, providing much-needed certainty for places to deliver locally. My honourable friend will be also aware that Stoke-on-Trent has also received £56 million towards key regeneration sites across the city through the Levelling Up Fund, supporting both housing and broader economic development. I will give way.
I mean, just on the point of funding, because I'm not sure if the Minister will be necessary, but we got £8 million in the recovery fund. I'm reliably informed from his own department that was the second largest recovery fund settlement anywhere in the country, which I want to thank the department for, because that is a huge recognition, not only of the financial challenges we've had in the past, but as a commitment and a down payment on what I hope and I believe will be the interest with which the department takes in Stoke-on-Trent going forward.
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention. I'll certainly pass on his appreciation to ministerial colleagues in the department who oversaw those decisions. But I think he can take as given that the funding awarded is a recognition of the importance we place on revitalising cities such as Stoke-on-Trent. I was going to just reference the goods yard, which I think is another great example of creating new city centre living opportunities with new apartments that are right alongside work and leisure spaces and next to the main train station. And I look forward to opening it and overseeing the opening of it in the coming months. More recently, Mr Turner, £6.5 million of additional government funding has been agreed to support public realm regeneration in Tunstall, Longton, Stoke, Burslem and Middleport as part of Stoke-on-Trent's Levelling Up partnership. In Tunstall, I've been very heartened to see the planned artworks to celebrate the town's heritage and brighten up the area. I just want to touch very briefly, Mr Turner, on planning reforms. As honourable members will be aware, the government consulted on changes to national planning policy and other changes to the planning system last year. And having reviewed the available evidence and feedback from the consultation, we published a formal response and a revised national planning policy framework on the 12th of December. The revised NPPF supports the role of high streets and town centres by expecting local plans to create a positive framework for their growth and adaptation. It also expects planning applications for town centre uses defined in the National Planning Policy Framework as retail development, leisure, entertainment and more intensive sport and recreation uses, as well as offices, arts, culture and tourism development, to be located in town centres where possible to support their viability and inhibit trade being drawn away to other locations. Furthermore, Mr Turner, the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, which will be forthcoming later this year, will speed up and streamline the planning process to build more homes of all tenures and to accelerate the delivery of major infrastructure projects, aligning with our industrial, energy and transport strategies. The bill will make improvements at a local level, modernising planning committees and increasing local planning authorities' capacity to deliver the type of interventions I've referenced today and deliver an improved service. And it will also support more effective land assembly for development in the public interest by reforming the compulsory purchase process. And I know that in many parts of the country, and Stoke is a great example of this, fragmented and complex land ownership can be a real barrier to development, and we want to ensure. I will be happy to give way.
I mean, that is music to my ear. Thank you, Mr. Stowe. That is music to my ears, what the Minister just said, because it's not just about compiling the land that we know is available for development. It's the fact that the consequential impact of that is if we can bring that land together in Stoke-on-Trent, it means we can then protect our greenfield sites from the development that is unnecessary. And so the more we can do to put houses in Hanley, the greater our chances are of protecting Berry Hill Fields in the middle of my constituency, that are the green lungs of North Staffordshire.
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention, and he's absolutely right. This government has a brownfield first approach to development. In all instances where it is possible, we want to see brownfield development prioritised and accelerated, making a number of changes to ensure that is the case, not only some of the revisions we made to the MPPF, but the proposals that we've outlined in our brownfield passport working paper, which will feed into the development of national development management policies, which we'll consult on later this year. But all of these interventions are to ensure that wherever possible we can get brownfield-led development. But he's absolutely right that in many parts of the country, that fragmented ownership of land is a real barrier. And we want to see generally more coherent land assembly and master planning of large sites to ensure that we can maximise their potential, not least in terms of density and getting the number of homes we need on site. And in that way, in many parts of the country, it will be possible to avoid having to go and look at greenbelt release, although we're very clear that where greenbelt does need to be released and grey belt as a priority release within that, that does need to take place to meet local housing targets. To conclude, Mr. Turner, I'd just like to thank once again my honourable friend for bringing this important debate to the House today and for his ongoing engagement. I'd like to assure him and the City Council that the Government recognises the vital role Stoke-on-Trent will play in our growth mission. We want to see councils across the country working in collaboration and partnership with the Government to create a sustainable and suitable housing supply for those that live in and commute to town and city centres. And I very much look forward to working with him and my honourable friends to that end. Thank you.
Order. The question is that this House has considered government support for town centres in Stoke-on-Trent. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order. Sitting is suspended until 2:30 p.m.